Good morning. Not entirely sure yet. Um, I want to take a look first off at the dollar. It's a bit elevated right now. We do have some data sets coming out in 12 minutes. Go ahead and check what those are. We have the ADP, retail data, the export import, the forecast on majority of the data is coming in cooler though. A lot of December data still. Good morning, good morning. Okay. So dollar is elevated, but still dropping slightly. I know that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but it does. I'll explain it in a moment. Let's check the yen. Yen is doing pretty well. The market on it is doing extremely good. We have the USD JPY continuing to drop, so conditions are easing, even though we're not seeing, a quote unquote unwinding currently. Um, we have been seeing some of the JGBs starting to catch a bid, which that's exactly what the Bank of Japan's looking for. So this structure on QQQ is a little misleading right here. It does look like a cup, but that handle's extremely deep. So if it goes pretty much any further, it's going to invalidate that cup. But as long as it just sits right there, then it's absolutely fine because it will be forming a handle. Sure, the 5-minute Bollingers can show that as well. We have the bounce off the bottom. Let's take a look at the VIX. Let's see. We do have UVIXY and UVIX up slightly. We still have the VVIX at a pretty concerning range. It did drop quite a bit yesterday. But again, as long as it's within this red area, even if it's just a few cents, it's still suggesting that people will be selling. With the VIX being elevated, I'm almost positive the VVIX will be slightly elevated as well, so probably still within that red range. TLT is seeing some good price action in the pre-market. We do have semiconductors doing very well in the pre-market. So even though we do have VIX and some other instruments showing us some potential weakness, we do have, very good structure here on semiconductors for a breakout, especially if we see continuation above that 20 mile on the 5-minute. And I believe semiconductors still, yeah, they still have plenty of room to the upside as well. With, let's see, 5 mile should be pulling up to about say 345 today. So it's going to finally break the 20 mile. It's not going to break the 10 mile. But that's one of the stages for heading back upward. You have to break some of that consolidation, jump from moving average to moving average. So we went through the 20 mile. 5 mile's going to pull above it, very likely pull back down, retest the 5 mile, head back upward. So seeing semiconductors doing well is a very good sign. That was a very big sign that we did see during a lot of the selling over the last few weeks is that even though we would see QQQ dropping immensely, we'd be seeing semiconductors holding very, very well. So it looked like a lot of selling, but it was a lot of shifting funds as well with that selling. Bitcoin struggling a little bit this morning. This has broken its bullish structure here, so we can delete that. This is turning into kind of a double top, or it can also be an inverse cup and handle. Definitely suggesting that Bitcoin is going to very likely drop a little bit. Now, again, this can still be a larger part of or the part of a larger handle since we hit the 60K bottom. So this can be a lot of consolidation. Nvidia, let's check. Yeah, Nvidia's been looking super, super strong. Are you? Yeah, it still probably has. See, the way that I'm seeing the moving averages right now is that it absolutely can, and it looks very, very likely that it's going to be pushing that cup, towards that upside. With that upside being pushed, very, very likely it should aim for an upper Bollinger move. The only issue I see with that is that we do have the moving averages still down pretty far. Even the 5 mile on open will still probably be below the 10 mile and the 20 mile on the video, which is still very concerning. That can turn into selling very quickly, but at the same time, with this cup filling out, we do kind of expect bear structure at the top. So if we're going to see the upper Bollinger pushed here, that'd make a lot of sense. Finish out that cup, see the 5 mile pull above the 20 mile and 10 mile, see the 10 mile slightly pull up above the 20 mile, pull back down, retest the 5 mile, probably in that 190-ish range, 192 range, head back up and, go from there. Definitely looks like it wants to break this consolidation though. I mean, this thing has just been consolidating since, yeah, July. Good morning. Sorry if I sound super tired. Yesterday was a long day. I'm still trying to get the office all set up. Be pulling up the heat map here in a second. There we go. Yeah, if it hits that 200 range, you definitely want to be shorting. Especially with the market conditions not exactly being perfectly ideal right now. Even though I'm still very bullish just because I'm seeing a lot of bullish structure. I've been seeing, the VIX slowly pulling down and everything. There's still just a lot of conditions that can bring the market down very, very quickly. Um, Even though I'm seeing a lot of the Bank of Japan issues starting to pull back a little bit, that can always pick up very quickly. I do believe that the Bank of Japan's trying to time their unwinding into a buying market, which, that is a good thing. They're not trying to just absolutely dump the market, but at the same time, that does mean that almost every single push upward will be met with selling into it. So that does kind of keep us within this consolidation for a longer period of time. Yeah, semiconductors doing very, very well this morning. Microsoft up 3%, Meta up 2.4%, Palantir 5%, Oracle's up almost 10% right now. Hold on. No, that heat map's incorrect. Showing yesterday's price action, not the pre-market. Let's ensure that the pre-market. There we go. There is an updated heat map. This is showing the actual pre-market now rather than the closing prices on yesterday. Still seeing a lot of strength in semiconductors though. Um, Defensive stocks I'm not really seeing a whole ton of weight pushed into yet, so very likely, even though things do look slightly sketchy, with the VIX being elevated, it does look like the market wants to continue the push upward. We have really important data in just a minute, so we'll go over that once it drops. Yeah, and on SPY, we don't have this cup and handle here. This actually invalidated, so potentially this can turn into a double top. Have to be very, very aware of that. Let's check the data. I can pull it up for you as well. Apologize if anyone's phone or anything swapped from a really dark screen to a really bright screen. Anyway, ADP still telling us the exact same story. The labor market is really not moving anywhere. It's still in that no hiring, very low firing phase. For retail sales for December came in at 0%. Definitely lower than what I was expecting. I didn't expect that 0.3%, but I didn't expect 0% either. That's actually really bad for the consumer market. That's showing that consumers are really not spending. And again, for that's for December, one of the largest spending months. Retail sales. Not good. Okay, let's go ahead and head back to the market. Should be bullish for equities overall. Um, Again, cooler data is generally very bullish for equities, even if it's alluding to labor market weakness, economic weakness, things like that. As long as it's not really directly influencing the GDP, then overall it should be bullish for the market. Still seeing elevation within the UVIX and UVIXY. I want to look at silver really quick though. I'll be right back 1 second. Just need to open my door really quick. Sorry about that. I have to I have my two cats that cause a lot of chaos in the morning. So one of them opens the door while the other one is super loud and closes the door behind the two cats. So that is fun. Okay, Silver. So far, it's looking like a 5 mod test. You do have to be really careful that this can turn into a head and shoulders, even though obviously the slumps between the shoulders aren't exactly equal. The liquidity is still there to do so. However, it does look like a 5 mod test on the daily time frame. It does look like very, very likely it will be bought up. And not just bought up, but starting to push back upward towards the 10 mod and 20 mod, unless we're just going to be seeing a very, very large consolidation. But with this structure, it's telling me so far that very, very likely it wants to form the cut back upward towards the 92.19-ish. But at the same time, we're kind of seeing this structure happening throughout the majority of tech, semiconductors, precious metals, Bitcoin. So we have to be really careful because if these don't toward, then obviously that's going to be a very bad news. Turns into an inverse cup, handle drops even further. I want to look at gold. I also want to look at Lockheed. FXY doing very, very, very good in the pre-market. Again, this is the yen, so the yen seeing strength is something we want to see as bulls. This moving upward pushes us away from the Bank of Japan having to, um, intervene and buy up the yen. So that's a good thing. That's a bullish signal. We're seeing the banks in the morning have a little bit of bullish price action as well. Nothing super major yet, but it's also a good signal. I wish I got those AMD calls yesterday that I told you guys because they absolutely flew. We'll look for a scalp here in probably the next 20 minutes or so. I just want to see the market a little bit more with the data we got anyway. Yeah, for semiconductors, it just looks like to me that we need to see slightly more consolidation before we fully break out. Now, they can obviously break out way before that, but generally you do want to see the moving averages change into the bullish stance before you head for the upper Bollinger. TLT, of course, doing very well this morning. That data was not good for the market, or not for the market, but for the economy. Um, so of course, long end bonds are going to be doing very well. Treasury yield pulling down pretty massively on that news. Very good. We still have the UVIX and UVIXY slightly elevated, but we'll know more towards the open when we can actually check the VVIX. Really kind of bummed about the energy sector because this is a big one I wanted to buy up for a very long time. Told everybody that eventually energy would be seeing a lot of market weight again, and didn't fully miss the move, but for the time being I did. Good morning. Thank you. Yeah, it's been a lot of work trying to get my exhaustion and everything better, but um waking up at this time actually is ideal for me. I'm on the West Coast, so it is currently 5:40 a.m. Not the worst though. I'm usually up very early anyway. Oil is seeing some strength in the morning. We do see the ADL on oil though starting to taper out slightly. Not a super big concern. Again, oil is something we don't exactly want to continue skyrocketing. It should be kind of hovering between the 70 to whatever 80 something uh, dollars per barrel. So been looking for a dip on WTI. So that's correlating with that just a little bit. But again, WTI still super bullish. Tons of bullish structure here. I don't think we have any other news in morning until 10. Yeah, we had the business inventories, retail inventories at 10. Yeah, I figured it was you. Yeah, QQ going good. It's hard to look at the structure on QQQ and semiconductors as bullish just because on SPY the structure is not bullish. Um, it looks like it's bullish right here, but it has absolutely invalidated this cup. So that's not a good thing. Generally, you'll expect further structure downward at this point. So we could be having a little bit of a consolidation day before tomorrow's data. I believe tomorrow we have some of the bigger data. Yeah, tomorrow's the unemployment rate, average hourly hours, the non-farm payrolls, all the good stuff. check the moving averages on QQ and everything. So 5 mile will be probably around 610-ish range, perhaps even the 611, but I think that'd be pushing it. So again, QQQ, kind of like I was mentioning before, how out of all of the three between, SPY, QQQ, and SOX, we saw QQQ really take the most beating, and the moving averages are really trying to recover from that. Thing that can be slightly misleading here, and I can delete this because I believe this is from yesterday's channel. Let me just double check. Yeah, that's from yesterday's channel. See how it's starting to break there? It's not exactly a signal we want to see, but for all we know, it could just be forming a lower support here where we would have to pull this channel down a little bit further. But with these two supports on, the last three trading sessions, this is technically bearish so far with that breaking. So not a great signal. With that being a bearish channel, very likely that would be the bottom support. Even then, that doesn't look like a great bearish channel either. We do have this structure though that definitely alludes to that channel. Yeah, kind of at a crossroads here. Really need to see this turn into either a major bullish structure or that's just going to be a double top at the top of a bearish channel and sell down further from that. So, good morning, Anna. Glad you're here. Probably the next 15 minutes or so, we'll be going through the watch list and seeing if we can find any good morning scalps. I'm just looking at some of the structure and everything until then. Letting the coffee do its work. LMT. Again, a lot of the markets holding this exact same structure. It looks a little different on LMT, obviously, but this is still that failed cup with that, potential handle that was, potentially forming there. With that breaking, it does definitely allude to that double top. The HIG in the pre-market is seeing a lot of buying, even though the share price isn't moving, but sometimes that's what the HIG does. See, so the 5 mile on gold should be probably around that 458-ish range, give or take. So still slightly below the 10 mile. Um, However, the 5 miles pulling up very, very, very aggressively. So that's a bullish signal. It did have a bounce off of the 20 mile, and not only a bounce, we did have that rejection of the lower Bollinger. Doesn't look like it was close, but with all the other precious metals, it had the exact same movement. So it was just a lower Bollinger rejection throughout the precious metals overall. You can see gold pull downward, retest that 5 mile. Again, the 5 mile on at least the GLD ETF is going to be around very likely the 458. Um, with that said, you definitely have to losing my train of thought here. Sorry, I'm half asleep. Um, the lower bounds and the upper bounds of the 5 mile will be about that $1 to $2 range. So around the 460 to 456 range on that 5 mile. So we can see or we can see gold pull down fairly aggressively. I'm not really expecting that. Um, Again, we're seeing a lot of good signals out of the market so far, even though we are seeing the pre-market being slightly red. We have the yen seeing strength, which that is a bullish thing for the market, most definitely. We're seeing the DXY. It was elevated slightly higher, starting to pull down even further, so that's a good signal. Yeah, massive drop on the data set. So a lot of this bullish structure the dollar was building has now been invalidated. So that's a good signal for equities. The dollar continues pulling down. That definitely alludes to bullishness within Bitcoin. Bullishness within Bitcoin generally translates to bullishness within overall equities as well. We're seeing liquid having buying in the pre-market. That's a very good signal. Um, this is the investment grade corporate bonds. So if investment grade corporate bonds are doing well, then generally should see equities doing well as well. Well as well. Yeah. Good morning. Just taking a look at today's price action on QQQ, we do have a little bit of a buying channel. I don't want that. We do have a little bit of a buying channel forming. Again, it's not super convincing when some of the structure from the last few days has been sort of invalidated. And let me just put this in a better way so it makes sense here. This channel to show, Bollinger's off, moving averages off, and orange. So as you can see, the current, quote unquote buying channel is not really aligning and meshing with the previous buying channel, at least with the previous supports. Now, again, this can pull downward slightly, create a new support where we would then have to, I don't want to edit that channel, I wanted to edit the yellow one, where we would have to take our bullish buying channel and then add that new support to it. Um, but with the previous support being broken, that is not a bullish signal. So little concerning. We see that within QQQ. I believe we also see that within SOX as well. I know we definitely see that within the SPY. SOX looks a little more convincing, where this is still a cup, but with, again, QQQ and SPY breaking that, semiconductors likely should break that as well. So let's check. VIX and UVIXC still just consolidating. Nothing too major yet. Probably in the next 5 minutes or so, we'll pick out some decent scalps for the day. Still doing well with that previous buying channel. Google should be seeing a pretty large bounce here. Um, I'd be very surprised if it doesn't. Generally, you don't see the price action where on the daily time frame you have the ADL, which again, that's for me that's a major lie detector because the ADL monitors the actual inflow and outflow of the funds. So with the ADL pulling upward, it's very weird to be seeing the price continuing to push into the lower Bollinger, especially when we had such a major, initial lower Bollinger move. So either this is going to be seeing absolutely absurd buying, or um, we're going to be having an additional push into the lower Bollinger here. So definitely concerned on Google, but if this buys upward, it would look very, very, very good. Structure so far on, let's see, some of these lower time frames. There's sort of that same movement we see within QQQ where it's starting to very, very slightly break through this previous buying channel. Again, it can turn into support, um, but it's just a concern. It's not something we want to see. Again, pulling back very, very slightly. The DXY is green right now, but in reality it's not. It's basically lost a massive level over the last few days, so it should still be seen as pretty red overall. So that is definitely bullish. Now Apple should be seeing a 5 mile test here. 5 mile still being, let's see, tomorrow should open. The 5 mile should basically be opening right where it is currently on Apple, which definitely means that we're testing the level right now. Um, with the previous upper Bollinger move happening literally just, a few sessions ago, I wouldn't really expect it to have a positive movement from that 5 mile test back up to the upper Bollinger. Um, definitely can though if it wants to fill out this bullish cup back up to the 288. That would look good. We do have a little bit of a micro cup within here though, so we could be forming the handle then to break up, or head up towards that 288, finish the cup from there, and then form a new handle before heading back upwards. So seeing a little bit of concern within Apple as well. So Apple, Google, both a little concerning this morning. Amazon, our calls should be doing very, very well. We pretty much bought the bottom yesterday, so going through the previous structure, Amazon definitely has a lot of upside still. Market on Amazon looks good as well. AMD is holding that same structure with SPY, QQQ, SOX. However, it's actually seeing the upside from it compared to SPY where it actually broke that structure. So again, we're seeing a little bit of a divergence between semiconductors and tech. Seeing a lot of strength out of Broadcom. With the dollar continuing to drop, again, we should be seeing Bitcoin turning bullish. It's just very, very concerning that we do have, bearish structure here technically, but with it being a major consolidation range as well, that bearish structure can be seeing its endpoint basically right at the bottom of that structure rather than creating a continuation within the structure. Hopefully, if that makes sense. All right, so I'm going to quickly go through the watch list and we're going to see if we can find some nice scalps. So how I do this, as always, I just turn off the moving averages, turn on the 5 minute time frame, and what I'm looking for is either something pushed below the lower Bollinger on the 5 minute time frame or pushed above the upper Bollinger on the 5 minute time frame. And that will really give us a usually quality scalp. Amazon, even though it's not near either of those ranges, still looks very bullish. So would be looking at that. ARM is looking bullish in the pre-market. Broadcom does look bullish, but this can turn into a head and shoulders. So just be aware of that. If we don't break above the um 20 mile or the middle Bollinger on the 5 minute time frame, then that can turn into a resistance. BlackRock's kind of giving a dip here. Not usually an option I would scalp, but it might be something I might scalp. Coin is looking bullish. Um, Again, it's still not the conditions that I would usually buy in, but this is starting to look like it wants to form that cup upward. Um, if it forms that cup to the upside, then it would very likely reject the upper Bollinger on, the 5 minute time frame, head back down towards that 20 mile range, build a handle, and then you would very likely see a lot of upside from that. So potentially coin can be good if we see um, Bitcoin break out. I always like to see elephants doing good. Have shares at 260 something. Each is looking good. This is kind of random, but I do plan to make a video very likely this week going over kind of some of the tax documents and stuff that everybody needs to do for, their taxes on trading, and I definitely suggest going to an actual tax advisor compared to doing your taxes by yourself, unless you actually have professional experience. Um, I generally pay between 300 to 600 a year to have my taxes done, and I actually make quite a bit paying that much. So compared to when I used to do my own taxes, and I'm a pretty, educated person, so I know how to do my taxes fairly decent, but compared to the tax professionals, they would still give me thousands compared to what I would be able to do myself. There's all sorts of new laws and regulations always coming in that us as normal people aren't aware of, that they definitely will be aware of. So, um, I always suggest going to actual accountant for that, not like H&R Block or something, an actual accountant. Nothing is really looking out to me just yet. T could be seeing a little bit of selling here, so we will look back at that. Yeah, a lot of Bitcoin symbols are sharing that same sort of structure that we saw in coin where it has that cup, very likely going to push up towards that upper Bollinger, very likely reject it, pull down, form a handle, then head towards that next major liquidity range, which for master would be at that 136 range. Netflix might be a good scalp. That does look like it wants to push into the 82. So if you do a scalp on this, it would have to be fairly quick. Structure on NVIDIA is looking very good. Yeah, I mean, I definitely see NVIDIA wanting to break out here. A large jump in the ADL as well. I do want to see the ADL pull up quite a bit, especially with this pretty massive consolidation range. We want to see the ADL start pulling back up towards all-time high levels again. Oracle might be giving us a really nice trade here. We're definitely going to circle back to Oracle. Um, if it pushes into that upper Bollinger, it would be very, very likely a very quality short to take towards the middle Bollinger at least to build a handle on the cup. Wouldn't be the largest scalp, but it would be a pretty decent scalp. there would be a lot of IV behind the contracts, so that would be good. QQQ starting to look pretty bullish in the pre-market. It's just again, I'm very, very concerned that the previous bullish structure was broken. Um, with that channel, but again, that can turn into a deeper support. So we are looking at that. Um, if that deeper support does happen, that would be very likely today. Don't want to short silver, um, at least not in the sense of a 5-minute scalp. Um, there's just too much market cap going into precious metals right now to try to be doing the short side of these 5-minute scalps. The odds of having your position just absolutely bought up is very, very, very large. In semiconductors look extremely good. SPY is definitely looking bullish right now. Again, just it did break this larger cup that we have forming here. Um, did break some of the previous structure. Hold on. But overall, this is a very nice cup setup. Even just looking at some of the structure, and I'll hide the Bollingers so that we can actually see what's going on here. Um, we talked about how this can turn into a cup back to the upside. We're not far from that. Um, we are now above this major consolidation channel as well, which again, that's exactly where we were wanting to build support on top of. So we could have a move down, build the support on top of the channel, then bounce back up, finish up that cup, and all-time highs from there. Yeah, I will place the tax video on the YouTube. Yes, I would still always recommend an accountant, even if you had a super, super negative year. They will always make you money. Um, even if it's not exactly what you want. um, they're always going to do better than what you're going to be able to do personally. There's just so many new laws and regulations that are being implemented within the accounting um market that we just can't keep up with it as normal people. Um it's one lesson I learned years and years and years ago. I used to think that I was very, very good at doing my taxes. I used to think that I was hitting all the little deductions and whatnot, but I wasn't. Wasn't even close. Seeing UVIXY and UVIX pulling back a little bit. That is a good thing. If we continue seeing UVIXY and UVIX pull backward, then very likely we would see the VVIX opening underneath the 98 range, which would be bullish. It would still be within that yellow range, which is, that cautionary range, but you can still see all-time highs while pushing that yellow range. You don't have to be within the green range to see buying. It just this yellow range shows that there's potentially selling occurring with that. Want to take a look at the dollar again and the yen just to make sure everything is going well. Still seeing the dollar pulling back. Not too concerned about the dollar pulling back upward too much from this 5-minute Bollinger. Very likely to actually be an extension down further into it. Yen doing very well. Not overextended or anything though. Um, isn't really something I would look for a scalp in terms of the 5-minute time frame. So you really want to see Google bounce off of this 20 mall on the 5-minute. That's a very large deal for the day for the majority of the market. A lot of the overall tech is sharing this kind of same structure where it rejected the previous support range, but it's still within an overall bullish structure. So this can just be forming a new support. That's just what we have to watch for. Seeing the HIG holding strong. Yeah, Oracle looks super good. Would help if I am not so blind. There we go, Oracle. Yeah, Oracle's still holding that structure where it's very bullish. Um, but this could be again a very quality scalp back down to that 20 mile. Um, from the 20 mile, that would be very likely the opportunity to take calls to the upside, secure that 161. Palladium is looking good. Platinum looking fine. Let's check the RSP. Now, one thing that I look for on the RSP, this is, kind of the SPY equal weight. Um, Mainly if it's buying, then it's going to be bullish for the market. Because again, as an equal weight, it is showing that there is money entering into the SPY. Um, we can have red days within the actual, um, indices themselves. By starting to push up into the upper Bollinger on the 5-minute, so that would coincide with seeing that downside in Oracle. But again, this would be very likely bullish back up to that upside. It's just misleading because again, we do have that failed cup there. Tesla's looking good. It has that cup, but not failed. So there's a lot of symbols that are sharing this exact same structure. Um, if they all break out, then very likely they're all going to break out. Um, or if one breaks out, very likely they're all going to be taking the same direction. So we just have to really identify that either these are going to be bullish or this is going to be turning bearish on us. It's not super clear yet. AMD starting to push into the upper Bollinger as well, so that would share a lot of that same price action with Oracle. Yeah, very likely that's going to be the play here. Um, Shorting this into support, buying calls into the upside. Yeah, I can't wait. Yeah, I can't wait. I know I've been saying for about a year and a half now that I've been wanting to work with you. It's just finally getting over this fatigue and everything is just been huge hurdle. So yes, definitely. I am super excited to work with you in the future. Now on SPY with this failed cup, it can still turn bullish and it would be kind of misleading. Um, but with a lot of the other tech, um, semiconductors, things like that, sharing this exact same structure, again, if we have, say, Oracle pull down, form that handle, we very likely would be seeing SPY pull into the red very lightly. From there, Oracle very likely would see the upside breakout, and that would translate to a breakout on the SPY, breakout on QQQ, SOX, all that good stuff. So I'm going to start pricing out some contracts here on Oracle in a couple minutes. Starting to see that same structure within tech as well. 5 minute ADL is very, very strong on QQQ, so very likely this is going to turn into a bounce to the upside where we will just have to extend the support to this bottom range, but we will confirm that before we do so. Yeah, same structure on the SPY. So yeah, we're going to be shorting into the open today. Um, Again, it looks very good. The only concern is, and I am going to draw this here so that everybody's kind of on the same page, is that this is a bullish structure. Okay. Nobody can forget that right now, is that this is bullish. If we break below that range, it's no longer bullish. Okay, that's when you have to start being concerned that, okay, potentially we can be heading down to the 691. Okay, so that's that's that. This is a bullish structure though. So what we're really looking for is for this cup to the upside. Okay, so that means that we have this range here that has to be decided upon. Very, very likely what's going to happen is a push into the upper Bollinger, a pull down into that 20 mile range, might even pull below that. From that 20 mile range, very likely pull back upward. Okay. That's really what I'm looking for out of the price action today is that pull downward into the retest of support, push back upward. Um, Again, this can turn bearish if we do not see this push upward. If we see the pull down to the 20 mile on the 10-minute or on the 5 minute time frame, and we see rejection continuing downward, then that would, allude to further downside. So just be aware of that. But puts at the open is looking very, very strong right now. And I will be right back in about 1 or 2 minutes. We'll go over everything right after that. But again, um, puts in the open is looking like the play so far throughout majority of um market, but it's not bearish puts. Okay, these are puts that are going to take you to a bullish support. So you have to be very, very, very careful with them. Um, these are the type of puts where I would take it and very, very likely cut the majority right at that 20 ma. Not even worry about trying to take that bottom side unless we're, having some running contracts taking that extra weight. But overall, everything does look bullish, so be aware of that. Anyway, I'll be right back in 1 or 2 minutes. All right, I am back. Let's go ahead and take a look at everything. See, very likely we're going to see this push upward into the open. So when we're shorting this, wait for the actual upper Bollinger on the 5 minute time frame to be pushed. Don't short right at the open. Because again, very likely the odds are is they're going to aim to finish this cup to the upside just because we're seeing quite a lot of bullishness throughout the market. Again, we will look at the VVIX at open. We are seeing the UVIX and the VIX pulling downward slightly, so that would align with securing that cup at the open. From the cup, secure the top. From the top, form a handle downward, downward into support. From support, calls to the upside. Again, bullish on the day. Very bullish on the structures overall. Do have a little bit of concern within SPY, having this cup that was broken, but again, the upside is very strong right now. So, okay, and we're going to start getting ready. Um, Not going to be entering just yet. Again, make sure you take a look at the VVIX. Currently, the VVIX is at 9860, so still in that concerning range, but it's getting close to pulling down. SPY finishing that cup. This is when you want to start getting ready to short, not just yet. Um, Let it push above slightly further. Should anyway. I'd be very surprised if it didn't. Again, we're watching the 5 minute time frame. Cup has not been fully formed yet, so that's really what we're looking for is for that 695.55 to really finish out. And then we're going to take a short into this. So literally any second here. So be prepared. Okay, and we short. I am taking the 695 puts, and we're only going to be writing these to the middle Bollinger here. Okay, we're not going to be doing anything crazy other than that. Again, this is a bullish structure. We can see it push up a little bit further, so if you have to DCA your puts slightly, don't be too concerned about that. Again, with this being a cup, we always expect the push upward into forming bearish structure at the top. So with us securing the cup, for me, that's a good level for taking my puts. If we push above that into bearish structure, then I will DCA those puts downward. Um, Again, we're just shorting for the handle to the upside. So I will place that right there. Taking a look at the VVIX, we should be seeing it pull up very slightly. We are. It pulled up to 99, exactly what we're wanting to see. And let's take a look at the DXY. DXY is still pulling down pretty aggressively, so that is, that does fit with our bullish narrative that um finish the cup top, pull down, form a handle, breakout. Let's go ahead and check QQQ, forming that handle. Still looking further down for that. I know it did pop down to the 20 mile, but you're not wanting to secure that yet. You really want to see it on happen on the SPY. That will be the major signal that that handle is ready. Okay, so we're finally seeing our price breakdown. Just being mindful of the VVIX, it's still rising very slightly. It's at $99.10. So again, as long as it's above that 98 range, it's going to be suggesting and indicating that there is a little bit of selling going on. Yep, continuing to see the breakdown of the upper Bollinger, seeing the ADL pulling downward as well. Another good signal. The ADL again is basically like a bank account. If you see it moving downward, money is leaving. If you see it moving upward, money is moving into it. So money is leaving the SPY at the top of this cup handle, or the top of this cup. Very, very likely indicating that they do want to pull down, form the handle. The VVIX slowly seeing some upside, so it is coinciding exactly with what we're seeing right now. Treasury is looking good, so this does fit with the bullish narrative overall. Again, looking for that 5 minute, 20 MA slash mid Bollinger, for the exit on those puts. Currently, that's about 490, or excuse me, 694.23. Um, you will be trying to look slightly under that range. Generally, each 20 MA test on the 5 minute time frame is really a decision range, so you do expect a slight consolidation in that range. Even if it's only for a minute or two, you should be anticipating that consolidation. Seeing the downside of this handle, that's good. We're going to go ahead and just delete this cup so that everybody can see exactly what we're looking for. No, Sylvia, you're fine. I enjoy you chatting. Yep, seeing our downside again. All we're looking for here is the 20 mil. We're not trying to short the world right now. We're just trying to make money on a scalp. So our level is coming up here soon. Again, it's at 694.21. Really, ideally I'm looking for that 693.90-ish range to exit. Very likely coming up soon here. Large rise in the VVIX, so all of our signals are still telling us that there is downside within the SPY. Should secure our level. Yep, securing our level now. This is where you set your stop losses. Okay, so literally right now, go set a stop loss on your puts. And simple as that. You now had a very successful scalp for the day. From this level, okay, after setting a stop loss on your puts, we're going to start looking for support to build in this range. Now, we need to look at a few different symbols before we really determine that support's going to be um, built at this area. So we're going to be looking at SOX, which is semiconductors, if I can find it because I am a blind man. And on SOX, we did get our entry. Okay, this is telling you right now that calls to the upside are good. Okay. Um, this is starting to become the range where we're getting ready to start exiting our SPY puts, start getting ready to enter into calls. Same thing correlating on the QQQ. However, with the QQQ pushing down so heavily, um, if it pushes down too much further, it will invalidate this cup. So far, it is holding very strong within this selling channel though, so that is a concern. But I would be trying to look for calls at this bottom Bollinger range if we don't break below that 613.30, because that should very likely become a very large bounce. Now, looking at the VVIX, still very elevated. It is dropping very slightly though. It did pull up to the 116, well not 116, but $100.16. Let's go ahead and check the dollar and the yen. The yen is doing very good. Um, Again, this is bullish right now for the market. The yen being pushed upward does lead to bullishness in the overall equities. The DXY still, fits in with our bullish thesis overall on the day. Seeing that pull down is a bullish thing overall. Liquid is being bought up, so this is a good signal. This is a bullish signal. Go ahead and check the HIG. Same thing with the HIG, and even looking on the shares, I know I don't have it on the screen, but I show my time and sales and shares in sets of thousands. So if any orders are under 1,000 shares, they just won't show up on my side. So I only am tracking large orders. And within the HIG right now, there's I want to say 12 large orders to one large selling order in terms of buying to selling. So that's a bullish signal as well. QQQ is starting to break down slightly. Again, I really don't want to see below that 1630. I really do want to be seeing a bounce very, very soon here on the QQQ. Oracle, same deal on Oracle here. We talked about this, how very likely it would push up into that upper Bollinger, would pull down into the 20 MA. From that 20 MA comes a very strong buying range. Um, I would be fully expecting bullishness right now in terms of seeing Oracle. QQQ is breaking down a little bit further. This is concerning, okay? SPY so far isn't breaking down further than what we're expecting. That is a good signal. And let's check the BVIX again. BVIX is slowly pulling back. Remember, it was at 116 cents. Semiconductors as well, seeing a very good buying opportunity below that lower Bollinger. Um, with that lower Bollinger move occurring, we should be seeing side buying very, very soon here. I'm not expecting them to take out this whole liquidity range. I think that would be just absurd. Um, yeah, very likely this is forming a handle on this larger cup right here, rather than trying to form an entire leg downward. And we should see that within the VVIX and everything very soon here. Let's check Oracle. Now, Oracle becomes concerning if it breaks below this bottom support here. So far, I'm not seeing that. So far, we're actually seeing quite a bit of buying right now. Go to the 1 minute. You can see how that handle's starting to form. Looking very good so far. Let's check the QQQ. Again, that was a major concern. Still is a major concern for me. This does not fit in with the rest of the bullish structure that I'm seeing. So definitely a major concern there. SPY. Let's check the SPY. I'm gonna be entering calls. Yeah, I'm gonna be entering calls. So I want to get into the 695s. Currently, they are point 93. We're hovering between the point, um, starting to grow. We're starting to gain some traction now. Starting to see the buying within the SPY. We should be seeing the VVIX slowly pulling backward. QQQ, still seeing that buying to the upside. So even though this was concerning, this still was a lower Bollinger move. Lower Bollinger moves still become buying opportunities. Still seeing that strength within Oracle as well. So remember we talked about how we didn't expect it to pull down that far. We expected it to pull down to the 20 mile or slightly below and then start building support on top of that range. We're starting to see that occur. Again, it just was a little concerning with that candle being as deep as it was, but we are starting to see some of this quality support being built. BVIX still very elevated. Seeing Bitcoin pulling back slightly. We did talk about how this really isn't a bullish structure on Bitcoin. So that should be pretty anticipated right now. I am looking for this to bounce out of this um consolidation range though. Seeing a little weakness within the banks right now. We did have a nice buy from the lower Bollinger though, so that can turn into support very quickly. The HIG is still seeing buying. We are seeing a little bit of shares being sold. Um, but it's still probably about 8 major buys to every major sell. Liquid still doing good. Nvidia seeing a little bit of that downward selling. We did talk about how we do expect the 5 mile range to really be somewhat tested again. Um, because we do have this cup forming here. It we do see the price action pushed pretty well above their moving averages overall. So no, I don't expect Nvidia to pull back all the way to the 5 mile today, but the 5 mile over the next, 1 to 2 sessions should very likely be retested. QQQ, still seeing a little bit of weakness in there. Same with SPY. BVIX still elevated, so this is still suggesting that there's selling going on. Yen is looking great. The dollar is still looking good. Bitcoin's still breaking down. I really don't want to see Bitcoin break below that 67.4. Um, you know, we see it break below that, that's really going to suggest that it wants to break below this major consolidation range, which that would not be good. That'd be pretty bad. BlackRock, we talked about buying that dip. I did not buy it, unfortunately. I wish I did. That would have been a great trade today. Dang. Oh well, it happens. EPST, seeing buying. This is bullish. When you see a regional banks being bullish, generally you will see the equities overall being bullish. We did talk about Google, how we had that major concern, and that definitely did translate into major selling. We do need to see Google buy this up, okay? Because again, this will translate to the rest of the SPY, QQQ, if we don't see it bought up. But I'd be very surprised not to. We have an overextension into the lower Bollinger on the 5-minute time frame. And not only that, we see the ADL pulling upward on the 5-minute time frame. So this should be a very quality buy to the upside. Actually makes a very quality scalp for the end of the day or not the end of the day, but the end of the week. Because we do expect bullishness overall. So this is actually giving you a very, very quality buying level for almost a whole $10 upside. So I'm actually going to be engaging into those. Hold on. It's hard to trade and talk at the same time sometimes. Yeah, the 325 contracts for the end of the week are 143 roughly right now for the low price, so probably 145, 146. Yeah, I'm gonna take two of these. That looks super good. Google looks super good for a very, very quality scalp. Not scalp, swing for the end of the week. And this kind of resonates with the NVIDIA contracts yesterday and the AMD contracts yesterday that we should be seeing a lot of these tech contracts that we buy for the end of the week really seeing some major upside to them. So Google is looking absolutely fantastic right now. That should translate into major buying on the SPY and major buying within QQQ. Starting to see QQQ claw its way back. Should be seeing the SPY. Yep. Yeah, my call is starting to gain some weight, so that is exactly what we're looking for. Let's see, the VVIX should be pulling back. It is very slightly. Um, VVIX moves very quickly though, so I am anticipating this to really break under this 98 range. Go ahead and check Oracle. Oracle should be breaking out. Yeah, Oracle is making that cup and handle. Very, very solid. Um, yeah, today is going very good so far, everybody. Oh, I didn't know it was a whole 10 minutes behind the actual live stream. Jeez, I apologize. I'm gonna see if I can fix that because a 10-minute delay is actually pretty massive. I would like realistically only about a 1 to 3 minute delay. So, um, yeah, that's concerning. But overall in the market today, now that we kind of secured the bullishness on the day, the rest of the day looks very good. Um, Again, our data sets for the rest of the day are very relaxed. We only have business inventories coming out in just a few minutes here. I'm not concerned about that one bit. We have the Atlanta Fed GDP at 11:30. Not worried about that at all. With the exports increasing today and seeing the imports still being very low, the GDP now should be basically coming in at that 4.2% or even slightly higher. Um, that is a bullish thing for the economy, bullish thing for the market. So definitely be aware of that. The 3-year no auction is today at 11 or at 1 p.m. Um, we should be seeing that auction actually coming in slightly lower yield, which would be a bullish thing for TLT and overall a bullish thing for the equities as well. Oh, they were behind. Okay. Yep. Oracle continuing to break out, looking very good. QQQ looking very solid. Our spy calls. Now, for these spy calls, you're wanting to not just take them up to this upper Bollinger range, you're wanting to take them all the way up to about that range because now we're starting to form this larger cup. Okay. And with, again, with all cups, we do expect bearish structure at the top. So that should be ideally where you're trying to aim those calls at. Um, with these calls being now in the money, as of just a few seconds ago, uh, once we push above the upper Bollinger, that's where you set your stop losses. just let the contract stop out. You don't have to worry about taking every other, little penny that you can. Just take the trades that are very easily available to you and apply the basics to it. Um Today was a little bit of a more difficult trading session in the open. We did see um and I know the trading session is not over. It's just I'm kind of just wanting to do a recap on the open so far because generally I end the stream around this time because I have to get my daughter up. Um but with that said, kind of just going over the open, we we weren't 100% about this being bullish today. Okay, we did have a lot of different signals, but some of the ones that were very present that for me told me that we were going to head upward. We saw the dollar dropping. Um, the dollar dropping doesn't always correlate to buying within the market, but if the dollar is dropping, that means there's more dollars within the system. If there's more dollars within the system, that means more dollars can be pushed into equities. So this was bullish for me today. Seeing the yen being pushed upward is bullish because if the FXY is pushed upward, that means the yen is pushed upward. Um, the whole Bank of Japan unwinding issue has been because the yen has been too weak. So seeing strength within the yen is a very good and bullish thing for the market. It means that we're pushing away from that unwinding. The HIG was holding strong today. We did not see any major selling in the open, which that alone was a very good signal. Generally, you will see, very large selling within the HIG if you're going to be seeing bearish price action. We saw liquid buying up since the morning, and this is the investment grade corporate bonds. So if the investment grade corporate bonds are bullish, then very likely your equities are going to be bullish as well. We saw different symbols that were showing, this potential cup and handle setup. Oracle is really the one that stuck out for me today, and as you can see, it's playing out almost to a T. The only concern we had was that it did pull down below the 20 mile range that we expected it. So when we were talking about Oracle, it was back up in here in the upper Bollinger. It pulled well above it. That became a very quality short down to the middle Bollinger. From that middle Bollinger, that's when we set stop losses. And I know we did this on SPY, not exactly Oracle, but we were talking about Oracle. From those stop losses, push down further. We did talk about how it can do that, but we did not expect it to push down all the way. And from that push down, we saw the buying in the handle towards that upside. And that really just resonated within a lot of different symbols. We saw semiconductors push below the lower Bollinger, which that becomes an opportunity to buy. Within the QQQ, we saw same thing. We were originally very concerned about QQQ because it was breaking this bullish channel that it had previously. With that previous bullish channel breaking, that does suggest that it wants to be within a selling posture. However, with all those other signals we had on the market, with some of the other structure we've been seeing within the symbols, that gave us the conviction that yes, this is going to be a buying day. So buying the lower Bollinger became a very great opportunity. Within SPY, you should all have stop losses set on your calls. I now have stop losses set on my calls. Basically, take that range into the stop. And from that, you can try to short into this larger cup. I would not suggest it. I would suggest just taking the trades that were very easy. Um, with this being completed, it no longer is very easy. Okay, you now have to formulate a lot more structure to form this handle. So it can turn very bullish again. Um, but it does need to build out a little further. What else? The VVIX should be pulling down. It is. It was all the way up at the $100.16. So now it's at that 98.98. We should be pulling down. Again, looking for it to break below that 98 range into this yellow territory, and I'll show this on the daily time frame to make it a little more easier to see. But everybody should really try to put these type of boxes in their VVIX index so that it's just super clear what price action is going on. We are looking for this to break into the yellow range, and from that yellow range, um, that will create some consolidation from there, but that's how we get into the green range for the major buying. Overall in the market, I am bullish. I have been for a while now. We talked about and apologize, the drawings are a little wonky here. Um, we talked about how every single time, and this was as of yesterday's session, so not today, but yesterday's session, we talked about how each time we enter into this red liquidity range, it generally becomes a very large bounce upward. Now, here's a couple things to be concerned about. With SPY, we have started to finish this this cup to the upside. We still have some room, okay? So that could be that upward push that we're going to be seeing probably the rest of today. If it doesn't try to form that smaller cup we talked about, I'll delete that arrow. We don't need it. And I will delete, no, I will keep this arrow because it still has relevance. Um, if we see a rejection off the top of this major selling channel, then we should be anticipating much further room downside or, downward. But I'm not expecting that. I'm not seeing signals of that at all. I am seeing signals of a lot of bold structure. So we should see, again, this cup finished out. From that cup finishing out, we should be anticipating some bullish structure within the top, form a handle. From that handle, continue to break out. So I'm not really expecting an all-time high to occur today, but this is starting to allude to it. Then socks looking very good. 4 hour talked about this cup. Um, it is filling out that cup so far. So yeah, that should do it. Let me go ahead and see if there's any questions. Yeah, very welcome. Very welcome, everybody. I hope today's you know, trading session helped. Being able to see how to differentiate some of these signals that can be very difficult to decipher. Um, but being able to do that in real time without stressing out is a very important skill. Um, I don't know, just seeing Google, Google is seeing that buying. So that became a very strong buy today. That would have been a very great contract. I hope some of you did take those Google contracts. I did not get the opportunity to. Um, or no, wait a second. Yeah, I do. I do have the 325 call. Yeah, that's actually going very good right now. Up quite a bit. FXY still going good. Bitcoin still concerning. And we do not want to see it pushing down too much lower here. Yep, that structure completed on Oracle. Yeah, very good. So let's kind of go over what I should expect out of the rest of the day. So on the 30-minute time frame, you can see, and I apologize if a ton of drawings pop up, but we're really looking at this consolidation range here. Okay, and you can see how this range is above where we're at right now. So what we're trying to do is bring the price action up to that range. So that's kind of the next step here is to see the SPY start building not just support, but some of this consolidation up at that range that will help us pull the daily 5 mile up. That will help us pull the daily 10 mile away from the 5 mile and, set a lot of these moving averages into more of a bullish stance. If we see today close very strong, which I'd be surprised if we don't, um, but if we do, if we basically see today close right at the exact level we're at right now, that would see the 5 mile pulling up all the way to the 692. So that would be seeing a bullish 5 mile above the 10 mile and the 20 mile. So that would be pulling the moving averages bullish again. Every time the moving averages start turning bullish, we start to look for the upper Bollinger move. Now we have had it reject 3 times on us. Um, However, this has been very bullish structure overall. And with this support being bought, or this daily lower Bollinger move being bought out, the upside is becoming very, very, very large. Even with the upper Bollinger, we're seeing this upper Bollinger slowly starting to expand above the 700 range. So tomorrow, it should be well into the 702, 703 range. Very good, very good. Everything we're looking for on the bullish upside is very present right now. Pig is buying upward. So yeah, that's what I'm looking for the rest of the day. Um, yeah, I did take the Google 325. I thought I didn't at first, but I did. Okay, everybody, I'm going to go ahead and end the stream here. I have to get my daughter ready for school. Well, it's not school, it's basically school. I call it school. With that said, if you do have any questions or anything like that, feel free to always leave a comment in one of the videos. Um, I did not put a video out last night. I was just far too exhausted, but I do try to put a video out every single day. I will be putting one out today. So far I feel pretty good. So, um, I should expect that. So, I will be trying to kind of put these live streams up later on to where I can turn some of them into classes. For example, today's trading session was an actually very, very structured way to, um, determine how to be bullish or bearish and when to be bullish or bearish. So, I would like to cut some of these streams up and put it on the channel or for tools for everybody to learn from. With that said, I hope everyone has a great day. I don't think there's any other questions. Thank you. Yeah, I will try to get some rest. Thank you, everybody. And I will talk to you either in tonight's video or in tomorrow's stream again. Take care, and I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow.